like all-inclusives as much as the next person. It's super convenient to pay a one-time fee for everything for your vacation. But I've also learned the hard way that there's quite a bit of information all-inclusives won't tell you up front. And if you're not careful, you'll end up spending even more than you would have at a regular resort. But have no fear, we're here to show you the top 10 things that they won't, so you can make sure to get the best possible deal on your all-inclusive vacation. So let's get right into it. So first of all, you will have extra fees, and none of them will be in the advertised prices that you see online. Cruises are the worst culprit of these extra fees, I have to say. When we went to book our first cruise, we were shocked to see the price go up at checkout by hundreds and hundreds of dollars, just in extra fees before we knew what was going on. Now that we've learned by experience, we want to make you aware that unfortunately, these extra fees have become the norm, although some all-inclusives are making the font a little bit bigger rather than in the tiny print that no one would check. So just factor these fees into your budget so you don't have sticker shock, because they can be quite a lot. This next one might upset some people, but it needs to be said. If you're looking to stay in an all-inclusive, beware of travel agents. They tend to really push them because they get a bigger commission. Of course, there are exceptions, but the few times I've tried an agency, they've always pushed that an all-inclusive would be the way to go, and that hasn't always been the case. Thankfully, I've always done a ton of research before I visited a travel agency. Now, I'm not saying don't use them. Some people might not want to spend all that time researching and comparing. I actually enjoy it. But if you are going through an agent, just be aware that they usually make 10 to 15% commission off all-inclusive bookings. So just make sure it's the best possible deal before you automatically give in to pressure. This is one that I never really considered before I experienced my first all-inclusive resort, but all-inclusives don't offer much in terms of local culture. The goal of pretty much every all-inclusive is to keep vacationers at their resort, right? And most people think, well, I should probably get as much out of the resort as possible, especially since they tend to be pretty expensive. I certainly had that thought more than once. But unfortunately, we've missed out on a lot of local culture as a result, and I have to say, this is the biggest regret we've discussed after staying at all-inclusives. So now we make a conscious effort to leave the resort and plan activities that will immerse us in the local area, and we encourage you to do the same. Now, don't expect to receive the super luxe rooms shown on the main page online or in the resort brochure. They always show the most or one of the most expensive suites with the best views, and these are usually at least double the cost of a standard room. Make sure you thoroughly research the amenities and views of each class of room and carefully weigh the benefits versus cost, and even check the location of the room you're booking. And on this note, beware that many of the all-inclusive resorts and even cruise ships are always remodeling, so be careful that you're not near a construction zone. To save your trip, check before picking your room location, and the best place to find out if there's construction happening is travel site message boards like TripAdvisor. Most sites won't announce it, so find out through recent visitors who are usually very upfront in their reviews. Next, we strongly suggest you plan ahead for those free airport transfers included in your stay. Our last one included airport transfer that was over 2 hours long, and some include a shared ride where other vacationers will be dropped off at other resorts. This definitely happens at the Sandals resorts, so factor that extra time, which quite frankly adds at least another hour to your transfer. We suggest calling ahead to your all-inclusive and asking if other passengers will be dropped off, and even get an estimate of how long the transfer usually lasts. The same goes for cruise port transfers. The last thing you want to do is miss your ship. A simple call could save you quite a bit of grief. Before you arrive, check to see if beach and lounge chairs cost extra. You'd be surprised how many all-inclusives will charge you about $20 a day per chair. I urge you to research and even call the resort so you can plan accordingly, and at least you'll be prepared and not caught off guard when you excitedly head to the beach and find out, hey, guess what? This is going to cost you even more money. And do the same for water sports as well. Sandals resorts usually say non-motorized water sports are included, so anything that requires a motor will be extra and usually costs between $100 and $200 an hour. So this is a big one to be very careful of. Here's a big one from our personal experience: hurricane season and all-inclusives. We got married in September, and we've had plenty of experience with this from our honeymoon and anniversaries. Hurricane season runs between May and October, and many all-inclusives actually have the best deals during this period to entice people to come during a potentially dangerous time. Of course, we always get travel insurance, but it's not that simple. Let's say a bad storm hits and you want a refund. There's lots of tricky fine print to beware of. At Sandals, they enforce a hurricane guarantee, which only applies when hurricane force winds directly hit one of their resorts and interrupt the use of inclusive activities. They do give the option to relocate to another resort for free, but if you decide to stay and ride out the storm, you won't be refunded for the cost of flights. So honestly, your best bet is getting insurance, and we usually pay between 4 and 8% of the overall cost, but it's been worth it in our experience for peace of mind. Now yes, food is included at all-inclusives, but beware, it is pretty basic stuff. That's kind of the trade-off for an unlimited amount of food that's usually available 24 hours a day. It's not going to be gourmet or very unique. Of course, as with everything, for an extra fee, usually $30 to $40, you can dine at the more gourmet fine dining locations. We usually pick one night to do so, usually our last night, and splurge a bit, which I think is a good compromise. And be sure to book these well in advance of your trip. And be very careful which beverages are included and which are not. Usually most resorts and cruises only include water, iced tea, lemonade, coffee, and juice. And if you want anything else, you have to pay for an additional drinks package, which can be up to an additional $50 fee plus gratuity per person per day. Now there are some all-inclusives which do include alcohol in your stay, but it's not the higher quality options that are available, so be careful what you order even at the all-inclusives that do include alcoholic beverages. Now let's talk about tipping. Some all-inclusives like Sandals and Club Med will include tip. They specifically tell you not to, so any extra tipping is at your discretion. But most do not include tipping, and you will be expected to do so for absolutely everything. From the moment you arrive, the person who carries your bags to your room, brings your drink to the beach, gives you your towels at the pool, makes your bed, on and on. So make sure you check if your all-inclusive includes tips, and if not, bring plenty of cash. Many cruises will automatically charge gratuity to your room, about $10 per guest per room, so while you won't need to worry about bringing cash and handing it out, you'll definitely need to factor that into your overall cost when planning your trip. And last but not least, to sum this all up, all-inclusive does not necessarily mean that. It doesn't mean everything. Most of the time it just means the basics, food and some activities. Maybe if you pick a good one, you'll also get drinks and airport transfer as well. But this is very important. The more included perks you have, the more expensive the resort will be. So you really are paying for it. It's just in a more convenient one-time fee. On the flip side, if you pay a really low price for an all-inclusive stay, you're probably going to have a low-end stay, meaning maybe it's during hurricane season, maybe your room location is terrible, all kinds of reasons. So my advice, don't just jump on a super cheap all-inclusive deal. Ask yourself, why is this so affordable? Look into the reasons and then decide if the sacrifices are worth the savings. So there are our best tips for what to watch out for when planning your next all-inclusive. I myself am a big fan, but I've learned through experience the hard way about these things which they don't warn you about, and hopefully our tips will help save you money and grief. I just want to say a special thank you for all the support our channel has been receiving lately in views, and we'd really appreciate you subscribing as well if you enjoy our videos and find them helpful. See you all soon in our next one.